Welcome to QuickSpeak, the English podcast that helps you improve your English skills while we explore interesting topics.
Okay.
Today, we're going to talk about relationships,
Okay.
the ups and downs of relationships in the modern world. And we'll use clear and simple vocabulary so it's easy for you to follow along.
Sounds good.
So, I think it's fair to say that relationships today face a lot of new challenges.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, with everything from technology to just the way society is changing, it's definitely a different landscape than it was, a generation or two ago.
Definitely. Like when we think about social media, we see all these couples who seem perfect.
Right.
And I think that makes it really hard to have realistic expectations for our own relationships.
That's a great point. What we see online is often not the whole story, right? And I think social media can really contribute to this feeling of like, we're not good enough or our relationships aren't as exciting as they should be. And sometimes we even call this digital distortion, kind of where the online world is actually twisting our view of what real relationships are like.
Yeah.
And it's like comparing, our everyday lives to a highlight reel.
Right.
It's just not a fair comparison.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap of comparing ourselves to what we see online?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that, those perfect images on social media are just a snapshot, right? Nobody's life is perfect all the time. And, instead of focusing on what other couples are doing, try to appreciate the unique qualities of your own relationship, right? Like what makes it special? What do you value most?
Yeah, that's good advice. It's easy to forget to appreciate what we have when we're constantly bombarded with these idealized images. Another thing I've noticed is that initial excitement in a relationship seems to kind of fade over time.
Right.
Have you observed that as well?
Yes, absolutely. The beginning of a relationship is often filled with these, really intense feelings of passion and joy and, butterflies and all that good stuff. But as time goes by, these feelings, naturally settle into something, calmer and more familiar. And I think that's perfectly natural. But it can be, it can be a challenge for couples to navigate this transition without feeling like the spark has gone out.
Yeah. So how can couples navigate that transition without feeling like the spark has gone out?
Well, I think one of the keys is communication.
Yeah.
Making an effort to really listen to your partner, understand their perspective, share your own thoughts and feelings honestly as well. It's also really important to find ways to keep things interesting. Try new activities together, plan date nights, or even just spend, quality time talking and connecting.
That makes sense. Keeping the communication open and trying new things together, those sound like great ways to keep the relationship strong. Now, let's talk about a challenge that I think many couples face, and that's financial stress. It seems like money worries can create a lot of tension in a relationship.
You're absolutely right. Money is one of the most common sources of conflict in relationships. And, when couples are worried about finances, it can be difficult to focus on anything else.
Yeah. And I think financial worries can really take a toll on our emotional well-being. And that can spill over into, our interactions with our partner.
Exactly. And when we're feeling stressed about money, we might be more likely to misinterpret our partner's actions or say things we don't really mean. And, we might start to focus on their negative qualities instead of their positive ones. It can really, we can really skew our perspective.
So how can couples handle financial stress in a way that doesn't damage their relationship?
I think the key is to address the issue head on, but do it in a constructive way, right?
Yeah.
So instead of avoiding conversations about money, schedule a time to sit down together and talk openly and honestly about your financial situation, your concerns, your goals. Remember, you're on the same team, right? You're not against each other. You're working together to try to find solutions.
That's a good reminder. Working together as a team is crucial when facing any challenge, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as finances. Now, I want to talk about technology. It seems like it plays a huge role in modern relationships, doesn't it?
It definitely does. Technology can be both a blessing and a curse when it comes to love. Well, on the one hand, technology allows us to stay connected with our loved ones no matter how far apart we are. But on the other hand, it can also create distractions and interfere with our ability to be fully present in our relationships.
It's so easy to get caught up in our phones or computers, and we forget to pay attention to the person right in front of us.
Right.
I've definitely been guilty of that myself.
We all have. It's just part of, the world we live in now. But I think it's really important to be mindful of how much time we're spending on our devices and to make a conscious effort to put them away when we're spending time with our partner. really focus on that quality time together.
So are you suggesting we have, like, technology-free time with our partner?
That's a great idea. Even if it's just for a few hours each day, setting aside time to disconnect from technology and connect with your partner face to face can make a big difference in the quality of your relationship.
I like that idea. It's about being intentional with our time and prioritizing a relationship. Speaking of being intentional, what are your thoughts on the concept of instant gratification and how that relates to modern relationships?
That's a very interesting topic. We live in a world where we're used to getting what we want immediately, right? And this instant gratification mindset can sometimes affect our expectations for love and relationships as well.
I think that makes a lot of sense. We might be tempted to give up on a relationship too quickly if it doesn't meet our immediate needs or desires.
Exactly. But building a strong, lasting relationship takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a willingness to work through challenges together. It's not always going to be easy or exciting, but, sometimes you need to be patient
Mm.
and focus on the long-term rewards rather than always looking for instant satisfaction, you know?
So it's about choosing long-term happiness over short-term pleasure when it comes to love.
Exact.
That's a powerful message. I think we need to hear that more often.
I agree. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of, new relationships or, the initial stages of a relationship. But real love is about more than just fleeting moments of passion. It's about building a deep, meaningful connection that can withstand the test of time.
And it sounds like that takes a lot of work and dedication.
It does, but the rewards are worth it. There's nothing quite like the feeling of knowing you have someone by your side who truly understands and supports you through thick and thin.
That's a beautiful thought. And speaking of support, let's talk about personal growth.
Okay.
It seems like there's a growing awareness of the importance of individual growth within relationships, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. For a long time, the focus was on finding the perfect partner, but now there's more recognition that we need to work on ourselves as individuals in order to have healthy relationships.
So how can couples support each other's personal growth? What does that look like?
Well, it starts with recognizing that your partner is a separate individual with their own goals, their own dreams, their own aspirations. It's about encouraging them to pursue their passions and interests, even if those things don't directly involve you.
So it's not about trying to change our partner or mold them into what we want them to be, but rather about supporting them in becoming the best version of themselves.
Exactly. And it also means being willing to grow and evolve alongside your partner.
Right.
Relationships are a journey, not a destination, and both partners need to be open to change and growth.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the fact that both you and your partner are constantly changing and evolving.
Right. And it's about finding ways to support and celebrate each other's growth along the way. It's interesting, how even with all its benefits, social media can really kind of twist our ideas about love and relationships.
That's true. You see these couples who seem like perfect,
Hmm.
and you forget that everyone has problems that we don't see.
Right. And this digital distortion, can make couples feel this pressure to always show their best side online. They might feel like they need to constantly post about their happiest moments, even if it doesn't really reflect their real relationship.
It's like everyone is putting on a show for social media, and it creates this pressure to live up to these, like,
Yeah.
impossible standards.
Exactly. And this can lead to feeling insecure or inadequate, especially when we compare ourselves to those, picture perfect images. But it's important to remember that social media is often just a highlight reel, not the full story.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into that trap of comparing ourselves to others. We forget that everyone has their own struggles, and what we see online is often just a carefully constructed image.
That's why it's so crucial to remember that social media doesn't show the whole picture. It's more important to build a strong relationship based on trust, communication, and shared values than to try to live up to some perfect image.
So it's about focusing on the real connection you have with your partner, not the one you're showing to the world.
Right. And sometimes that means taking a break from social media and focusing on real life interactions with your partner.
That's a great reminder. It's easy to get lost in the online world, but real-life connections are what truly matter. Speaking of real-life challenges, it seems like communication is a big hurdle for many couples, especially in the digital age.
You're right. We're more connected than ever before thanks to technology, but ironically, it can also make it harder to communicate well with each other.
That's an interesting paradox. How is that possible?
Well, think about it. We're constantly bombarded with messages, notifications, updates. It's easy to get distracted and lose focus on the person we're with.
That's true. I know I've been guilty of, checking my phone during conversations with my partner.
And it's these little moments of distraction that can add up and damage the quality of communication in a relationship. It's like we're physically present, but mentally somewhere else.
I've felt that way before. Like we're talking, but not really connecting on a deeper level.
Exactly. And that can lead to misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and a feeling of distance between partners.
So how can couples deal with this communication breakdown, caused by technology?
It starts with being aware of how we use technology and making an effort to prioritize face-to-face conversations. Put away your phones during meals, set aside dedicated time for talking without distractions, and practice active listening. These are all simple ways to improve the quality of your communication.
Those are great, practical tips that anyone can use. It's about being intentional with our time and attention.
Exactly. And while technology can be a distraction, we also need to recognize that it can sometimes be a source of conflict in relationships.
You're right. Disagreements about how much time someone spends online or what they do online can definitely lead to arguments.
Absolutely. And these conflicts often come from deeper issues in the relationship, like trust, boundaries, and expectations.
So it's not really about the technology itself, but about what it represents in the context of the relationship.
Exactly. For example, if one partner feels like the other is always on their phone, it can make them feel unimportant or neglected.
It's like their digital life is more important than their real life connection.
Precisely. And that's why it's crucial for couples to talk openly about their technology use and set clear boundaries.
It's about finding a balance that works for both partners and make sure technology strengthens their connection instead of weakening it.
I completely agree. This idea of balance is also important when we consider the pull of instant gratification in modern relationships.
It's like we live in a world where everything is available right away. And sometimes that need for instant satisfaction can spill over into our relationships.
You're right. We're used to getting what we want when we want it, which can make it harder to be patient and put in the effort needed to build a strong and lasting relationship.
I can see how that would be a challenge. We're so accustomed to getting things quickly that it can be hard to adjust our expectations when it comes to love and relationships.
Exactly. And this is where the concept of choosing instant rewards over bigger ones later kind of comes into play, right? It's the tendency we have to prioritize immediate pleasure or excitement over the hard work and patience it takes to build a deeper connection over time.
So in relationships, this means we might be tempted to, chase those fleeting moments of excitement instead of focusing on the deeper, more meaningful connection that develops over time.
Precisely. While those moments of excitement are certainly important, they shouldn't come at the cost of building a strong foundation for the relationship.
So it's about finding a balance between enjoying the present moment and investing in the future of the relationship.
Exactly. And that requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to put in the effort, even when things get tough.
That's such an important message. Relationships take work, and sometimes it's about choosing long-term happiness over short-term gratification.
You're absolutely right. And while this might sound challenging, it's important to remember that personal growth can play a big role in overcoming these obstacles and building stronger, more fulfilling relationships.
It's a good point. We've talked about a lot of challenges so far, but it's important to highlight the positive side of things too.
Absolutely. And personal growth is one of the most powerful tools we have. When both partners are dedicated to their own individual development, it creates a positive impact on the entire relationship.
It's like you're both constantly growing and bringing new perspectives and experiences to the relationship, which keeps things interesting and dynamic.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly enriching for both partners.
So how can couples support each other's personal growth? What are some practical things they can do?
It starts with open communication. Share your goals and dreams with each other, and create a safe space where both of you feel comfortable exploring your passions and interests.
It's about being supportive and encouraging each other to pursue your own individual paths.
Right. And it's also about respecting each other's need for space and time alone. Sometimes personal growth requires time for self-reflection and exploration.
So it's about trusting that by supporting each other's individual growth, you're actually strengthening the foundation of your relationship.
Precisely. And this brings us to another important aspect of modern relationships: navigating the challenges of long-term commitment.
It seems like it's harder to stay committed to a relationship in today's world.
You're right. We're constantly exposed to so many options and distractions, which can make it tempting to move from one relationship to the
It's
next.
like that saying, the grass is always greener on the other side.
Exactly. And while it's important to be in a relationship that makes you happy, it's also important to understand that no relationship is perfect. There will always be challenges.
It's about working through those challenges together and choosing to stay committed to each other even when things get tough.
And that's where shared values become so important. When couples have a strong foundation of shared values, it's easier to navigate those difficult times and come out stronger on the other side.
It's like having a shared compass that guides you through the ups and downs of life together.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So what are some practical tips for couples who want to strengthen their commitment to each other?
Well, it starts with open and honest communication. Make sure you're both on the same page about your expectations for the relationship and what you want for the future.
It's about having those difficult conversations and making sure you're both moving in the same direction.
Exactly. And it's also about making a conscious effort to prioritize your relationship. Schedule regular date nights, make time for intimacy, and don't let the busyness of life overshadow the importance of your connection.
It's easy to get caught up in our daily routines, but it's crucial to remember that our relationship deserves our time and attention.
Absolutely. And lastly, don't be afraid to seek professional help if you're struggling. Couples therapy can be an incredibly helpful resource for navigating challenges and strengthening your bond.
There's no shame in asking for help, and it can be a positive step towards building a stronger, healthier relationship.
I couldn't agree more. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about another interesting aspect of modern relationships: the impact of changing societal norms.
It feels like the way we view relationships has shifted in recent years. There's more emphasis on individuality and personal fulfillment these days.
You're absolutely right. Traditional gender roles and expectations for relationships are being challenged, and there's a growing emphasis on equality, autonomy, and personal growth within relationships.
This is definitely something I've noticed. It's no longer about fitting into a predefined mold, but about creating a relationship that works for both partners as individuals.
Exactly. And this can be a really positive shift, leading to more fulfilling and balanced relationships.
So how are these changing societal norms affecting modern relationships?
For one thing, it means that couples have more freedom to define their own roles and expectations. It's no longer about following a set script, but about creating a relationship that honors both partners' needs and desires.
That's empowering. It's about creating a relationship that's truly unique to you and your partner.
Exactly. It also means there's more emphasis on open communication and negotiation. Couples need to be able to clearly communicate their needs and expectations and be willing to compromise to find solutions that work for both of them.
It's about moving away from traditional power dynamics and creating a more balanced and equal partnership.
And this shift towards equality is also changing the way couples make decisions.
It's no longer about one partner having the final say, but about making decisions together as a team.
Exactly. And this collaborative approach can lead to better decisions that benefit both partners.
It's about recognizing that both partners have valuable perspectives and insights to offer.
I completely agree. And this shift towards greater equality and individual fulfillment is also changing how couples approach their careers and personal goals.
It's no longer expected that one partner will sacrifice their career for the sake of the relationship.
Exactly. Couples are finding ways to support each other's career aspirations and create a balance that allows both partners to succeed both professionally and personally.
That's so important. It's about recognizing that both partners have the right to pursue their own dreams and ambitions,
And it's about finding creative solutions to support each other in those pursuits.
whether it's through flexible work arrangements, shared household responsibilities, or simply being each other's biggest cheerleaders.
Absolutely. And this leads us to another interesting aspect of modern relationships: the evolving role of technology.
We talked about the potential downsides of technology earlier, but it can also be a powerful tool for connection and communication.
You're right. Technology can be a double-edged sword, but when used mindfully, it can actually improve relationships.
So how can couples use technology to strengthen their connection?
Well, for starters, video calls and messaging apps can help couples stay connected when they're physically apart.
That's especially important for couples in long-distance relationships or who have busy schedules.
Exactly. And there are also many apps and online resources designed specifically for couples, such as relationship trackers, shared calendars, and even virtual date night ideas.
That's interesting. So technology can actually help couples be more intentional about nurturing their relationship.
Absolutely. And it can also make it easier to communicate openly. Sometimes it's easier to have difficult conversations over text or email, especially if you're both feeling emotional.
I can see how that would be helpful. It gives you a chance to think things through and express yourself clearly.
Exactly. And it can also be a way to check in with each other throughout the day and share small moments of joy or support.
It's about finding ways to use technology in your relationship that strengthen your connection instead of distracting from it.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And as we wrap up this part of our conversation, I think it's important to remember that while modern relationships have unique challenges, they also offer incredible opportunities for growth, connection, and fulfillment.
It's about embracing the complexities of modern love and finding ways to navigate them together.
Exactly. And with open communication, a willingness to adapt, and a commitment to both individual and shared growth, couples can build strong, lasting relationships that can overcome any challenge.
It's encouraging to see how couples are finding new ways to create strong and fulfilling relationships in today's world.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the most positive trends I've noticed is this growing emphasis on personal growth as like a key factor in relationship success.
Yeah, for a long time, the focus was on finding that, like, perfect partner, but now there's more understanding that we need to work on ourselves as individuals to have healthy relationships.
That's right. It's about bringing our best selves to the relationship, right? Which means we need to continuously, reflect on ourselves, grow, and commit to personal development.
So how can couples support each other's, personal growth journeys? What does that look like in a practical sense?
Well, it starts with, like we were talking about before, open and honest communication, creating a safe space where both partners feel comfortable sharing their goals, their dreams, and even their fears.
Yeah, it's about being each other's cheerleaders, encouraging each other to pursue passions and step outside of those comfort zones.
Absolutely. And it's also about respecting each other's need for space and individuality.
Right. That means recognizing that personal growth often requires time for, self-reflection and exploration.
Exactly. Sometimes that might mean supporting your partner's decision to, take a class, attend a workshop, or simply have some quiet time alone
Yeah.
to recharge and reconnect with themselves.
It's about trusting that by supporting each other's individual growth, you're ultimately strengthening the foundation of your relationship.
Precisely. And as we conclude our exploration of modern relationships, I think it's essential to remember that love is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's about embracing those ups and downs, the challenges, the triumphs, and growing together as individuals and as a couple.
And while the world of relationships is constantly changing, those fundamental values of love, respect, communication, and commitment, those remain timeless.
Absolutely.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I've gained a deeper understanding of the complexities of, modern relationships.
Yeah, me too. It's been a pleasure discussing these important topics with you.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of modern relationships. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and expanded your English vocabulary along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to QuickSpeak for more episodes on improving your English skills while we explore a variety of interesting topics.
We look forward to having you join us again soon.
And be sure to visit our website in the description for additional learning materials like vocabulary lists and exercises from today's episode. Until next time, keep learning and keep speaking English.